We give our greetings to all our friends around the world, our friends who are standing in defense of our Mother Earth, defending from all the destruction that is happening, that is directed against her. So today, we speak to you of a very important issue, and we speak to you from the Kanienkehaka, from the Two-Row Wampum Peace Treaty. This is what recognizes our individual identities. This is an acknowledgement of the other. It is a way of how in this world, of how to settle issues or to resolve issues between two opposites. The Kanienkehaka was the treaty that was presented by my ancestors, the Kanienkehaka, first in your year, identified as 1616. For us, the year is insignificant. It means nothing. The fact is that this was presented to your ancestors over 400 years ago. And it was enabled your ancestors to live here in peace, to continue to just to live, to exist here. Anyways, this is how, in accordance with the Kanienkehaka, that we extend our hand to you and extend in this time of chaos upon our Mother Earth. We extend the only thing that establishes peace and order once again, which is matrilineal authority. And the matrilineal authority is what comes from the Kahnawake Neskana, the great law of peace. And so the great law of peace offers us knowledge of creation, because the great law of peace is based on all creation. It is the law of how creation was put together, and it is the law of how we are to live and exist within this creation. And so, from within the Kahnawake, it gives us access to understanding and deciphering everything within creation. Not just here within our territories or within our peoples, but upon our Mother Earth, and further into our grandmother Moon, our eldest brother the Sun, and to when we look up into the nighttime sky and we see what we refer to as all our relations. These are all parts of our family, and therefore they are understandable, because all creation throughout the universe is structured upon the great law of peace. Meaning, the way that the creation is created, that this becomes law. It is law which other things that come after that must follow and abide by. If other things go against that law, then they are killing the thing that came before them. This is the insanity of male dominance. That the male dominance in this world has gotten the world to the state of chaos, where everyone in the world right now is under threat of war. Where everyone is under threat of some kind of ecological disaster, or some kind of social disorder, or economic chaos, or some type of disease that is infecting the people. So right now, everyone on the planet is being confronted with a huge negative. This is because of what the male dominance has done in the world. It has destroyed the authority of our mothers, meaning it has destroyed the ability to have peace in this world. And so we talk to you about peace. We identify that in the non-native world, that you have lost your original instruction, that you no longer know what your original instruction is. If the people referred, or if it was said to you, that it is time for you to return to your original instruction, you would not even know what your original instruction is. It has been forgotten to you. Where we were was identifying about original instruction. Within my people, we hold true to our original instruction. We can identify precisely what our original instruction is. But within the non-native world, you have lost your original instruction. When we look at the world today, there is no disputing this. You have war, you have disease, you have famine, you have the waterways of our Mother Earth clogged up like the way our veins would be clogged up with cholesterol. There is plastics clogging the waterways, the bloodstreams of our Mother Earth everywhere, in the oceans, in the freshwater lakes, in the rivers, everywhere there is plastics. There is this chaos that is in every aspect of our humanity. And this is because you have lost your original instruction. So today, we are here to share with you the foundations to your original instruction. Each of you may say and wonder, question, what is original instruction? How can we identify that something is original instruction? Because for each of us, original instruction is the same. Your original instruction, meaning the first thing that you were taught in this world. This is what you have forgotten. The love of the Creator. The love of your mother. When you look around you right now and you see the chaos in the world of war or threat of war on almost every continent on the planet, there is no way that you can say that you have contact with your original instruction. Because your original instruction is love. And it is not here on this planet because of the conduct of the male dominance that has destroyed our mother's authority, taken away the ability of our mothers to manage our people properly. Instead, what we have under male dominance is a corruption of everything that is the authority of the female, meaning the management of our people in every way you could think of, including or meaning education. This is the domain of our mothers. Education of our children is to be left to the mothers. It is the mothers that will teach our children love. It is the mothers that will teach our children how to live in this world. It is our mothers that must educate our children as to the real connections that the children have through their parents, through their mother, to our Mother Earth, to our Grandmother Moon, and to Sky Woman herself. And so we will talk about this today, that connection that you have forgotten, that everyone on this planet has forgotten. And the connection we are going to be talking about is the balance between our Mother Earth, the balance between our Mother Earth and our Grandmother Moon. There is a very delicate working order between our Grandmother Moon, our Mother Earth, and our eldest brother, the son. So we are going to share with you now the teachings of the Gayana Rasa Goa, of the great law of peace. The teachings that is shared with all our people from the time that they are children, so that they know and understand their role here upon our Mother Earth, so that they know and understand where they fit into this creation and what their job is. Understanding our environment is the number one thing that the mothers must instill into the minds of your children, especially into the minds of your sons. If not, you will never have peace. So, we're going to get right into it, and we're going to talk about the delicate balance now between these three celestial bodies. As you know, our grandmother Moon goes around our Mother Earth, but she does not rotate. Like the way that the moon, like the way our Mother Earth rotates, our grandmother Moon does not rotate. She stays in a fixed position going around our Mother Earth. And so we are always seeing just one face. So if you're here in Turtle Island, we're seeing one face. It's like the face of our mother is looking straight at us. If we're here in Africa, the face of our mother is looking straight at us. If we're in Australia, the face of our mother is looking straight at us. It never changes. She rotates around the earth like that, with the face always facing us, but she has no rotation. This is what science tells you. Today, we're going to show you, we're going to prove to you that our grandmother Moon does in fact have a rotation. That there is a rotation, that not only is she fixed in a fixed position, but there is a rotation within her. As we go on, we are going to show this to you. So we're going to start from a new moon position. A new moon is where the moon is in between our Mother Earth and our eldest brother, the sun. The moon in between the earth and our eldest brother, the sun, is what you refer to as a new moon. The face facing the earth is dark, is lit up by our eldest brother, the sun. Now, when the moon comes around to full moon phase, when the full moon is on the far side of the earth, this is full moon. And so the face that is facing us is lit up. The face farther away is dark. It is black. So, why does this keep happening? Okay. So what happens in the full moon, in the new moon, sorry, the far face of the moon that is further away from the earth, that's the furthest distance, distance away from the earth. So you take that from there to where the moon is full, to its furthest, the face farthest from us. The distance is approximately 800,000 kilometers. Now, I do not have the exact distance, and so this is where it depends on you. Now, if you think that I am saying something that is wrong by saying that the distance to the far side is roughly 800,000 kilometers, then you need to do your research and establish what is the exact distance. The exact distance doesn't really matter to me. It doesn't really matter in creation. But we know that the difference of being 800,000 kilometers closer to the sun makes a very, very big difference to the body of our grandmother moon. Because the body of our grandmother moon, as you know, she has no atmosphere, and so she is exposed to the harshness of space. So when she is closest to the sun, what is happening is there is an expansion. An expansion takes place because when you are closer to a heat source, you get hot. And when you get hot, your pores open. You sweat. Now we know this to be true for humans. But you also know this to be true for inanimate objects also. You can take a piece of steel and you put it closer to a fire, to a heat source, and you know what's going to happen. It's going to expand. Now if you take a piece of steel that was close to a heat source, and then you take it away from the heat source, what's going to happen is it's going to shrink. It's going to contract. It happens to minerals. It happens to the minerals and the things naturally occurring on our Mother Earth. You heat up a rock, it's going to expand. So you take a rock off of our grandmother moon and heat it up, and it's going to expand. If you freeze it up, it's going to contract. It will only contract so far, but the fact is that when you take something that is in a cold state, like in its most compact density, that you heat it up, it's going to expand. And so if you freeze it up again, it's going to contract. So what happens to our grandmother moon, when she is in full moon phase, she is contracting because she is very cold. When she is in new moon phase, she is expanding because she is 800,000 kilometers closer to our eldest brother, the sun. So the far side of the moon is getting super hot. And again, as it gets super hot, it expands and her pores open. Now there's an interaction that happens with our Mother Earth. And you all know right now, wherever you are on our Mother Earth, that you know that there is in the morning times or in the evening, you can see fog or mist rising off of the earth. This is the condensation that is rising off of our mother. And the reason why condensation rises off of our mother is because of the clash between the cold and the warm air. So like right now, where we are at, it's springtime. So that means that we had cold air throughout the winter. Warm air is coming now. And when the warm air comes, it unfreezes all the stuff that was frozen, which means that it's coming to life. It's expanding. So this is happening upon our Mother Earth right now and all over the earth. And as she heats up and expands, the condensation leaves her body, and as you see it rising up, you know that rain comes from, people think that rain falls from the sky, think it comes from the sky. Rain does not come from the sky. Rain comes from our Mother Earth. It comes from our Mother Earth through this natural process of the warm and the cold airs clashing, and in the spring times with the snow melting, that evaporates into the sky, and as you see that rising, it forms the clouds, and the clouds in turn rain back down upon our Mother Earth. But all the water does not go through just that cycle, rising up and then coming back upon our Mother Earth through rain. What it does, the same way that you have the outer layer of skin on your body, this is the equivalent to the atmosphere of our Mother Earth, where that outer layer of skin keeps everything inside of the body. But there is a fact that right now you have water in your body. Whatever they say, you're 74% water or whatever. We identify that you are 100% water. The different things within our bodies, bones, different materials, all made of water. Everything comes from water. The same way that a baby is manufactured in the womb of its mother from the amniotic fluid, from the life waters that the mother carries. From that water forms the skull of a baby, forms the eyeballs, forms a heart, forms the entire skeleton. It forms the internal organs. So the reality is we are 100% water. It's just that science, male-dominant man-made science, cannot comprehend the reality and the truth of our mother's power, of how life, creation, comes into being. So the reality is we are 100% water. So anyways, knowing that you have water in your body right now, who of us right now has water pouring out of our bodies? Unless you go to the bathroom. You only have water coming out of your body when you are sweating, when you are hot. You can feel like me right now, I'm by the fire. I have little sweat beads on my upper lip. The water is leaving my body. That water used to be inside of me, and it was contained by my outer atmosphere, my skin. So, the water in my body can actually leave my body. When my body gets hot, I can see the water coming out of my body. When our grandmother moon is in full moon phase, our Mother Earth is sweating, she's evaporating, and that waters leave her body. And as it leaves her body, it gets caught in what is identified as the solar winds. The winds that come from our eldest brother, the sun, which, as we know, aren't actually winds. It's electrons, protons too, I think. But anyways, it's actually solid. It's not a wind. It's actually physical matter that leaves our eldest brother, the sun, but is identified as solar winds. So as those solar winds are leaving our eldest brother, the sun, and as our Mother Earth is sweating and the water is evaporating, leaving her body, it gets caught in the solar winds. And those solar winds bring that water back to the face of our grandmother in full moon phase. Now, the full moon is looking at our eldest brother, the sun. So that face of full moon is getting heated up because it's facing the sun. And so as it's heated up, the waters that leave our Mother Earth get caught in the solar winds and brought to her face. The heating up of her face opens her pores, and it brings that water back into her body. Now, as she starts to spin around, as she starts to go around our Mother Earth, as she goes past the quarter phase, this is where she's getting closer to the sun. And so the face that was super cold is now heating up. Now there's another action that takes place at this time. And you know it. You've experienced this when you were a child, each of us. That, oh, Anik, maybe if you can, so that her screen can see us. Now, you all know this when you were a kid. Somebody grabbed you by the hands and spun you around. And as they spun you around, your feet rose up. And you could feel all the pressure go to your feet. This is called centrifugal force. Now, how fast do you think that a human holding another human can turn around and spin like that? Maybe we could spin, I don't know, maybe about the equivalent of 30, 40 miles an hour, something like that, I would guess. It's not really important. But what you know is that when somebody spins you around, you can feel the pressure go to your feet, and your feet rises. Now that is only at a low speed. Like I said, maybe at the most 30, 40 miles an hour, at the most. But our grandmother Moon rotates around our Mother Earth at approximately 10,348 miles an hour. So that is a high rate of speed. Now imagine if you were getting spun around at 10,348 miles an hour. You would be flat as a pancake in an instant. You would be just a puddle of liquid. But our grandmother Moon has a very different constitution than us. So what happens when she is spinning around our Mother Earth 10,348 miles an hour, from this point where she has absorbed the water in her face, now at moving around that fast, since her face is heated up, the water goes through her face. But the far side of the moon is frozen. So it's sort of like if you could imagine a sponge. Imagine if this moon here is a sponge and half of it is frozen. Half of it is regular sponge. You can pour water in there. Is the water going to go through the other side? It won't, because it's frozen. So the water will be trapped here just in one side. But because of centrifugal force, you add centrifugal force into the mix of spinning around, it causes the water to be pushed through the body of our grandmother Moon. And so when she's coming back around to new moon phase, the far side that was super cold becomes super heated. So that is the equivalent of like that sponge, like pouring water into a sponge that was frozen. It can't come out the other side, but then you heat it up. The ice would melt and the water would come right through. And so in the new moon, as the far side of our grandmother's face becomes superheated, and combined with the centrifugal force, that water travels right through the body of our grandmother moon. And then when she's here getting super hot, her pores open, that water leaves the body of our grandmother moon. And again, that water that leaves our grandmother moon gets caught in the solar winds. And so those solar winds bring the water right back to our Mother Earth. So, you have two phases here, two cycles. You have a new moon, which is where our grandmother expands and releases the water. And then you have the full moon, where our grandmother contracts and she is now receiving the water. Now there's a bit of a trick here that happens to us. It's a psychological trick. Is we believe that the full moon is when the moon's at its biggest, because that's when we can see the moon. But the reality is that's when the moon is at her smallest, because she's super cold. When she is at her biggest is when we cannot see her. When she is in new moon phase, that's when she's at her biggest, because she's closer to the heat source. Now you tell me, does that make sense? That, well, you get closer to a heat source, you get bigger. You get further away from a heat source, you get smaller. That is basic common knowledge. That is grade 3 level science that absolutely everybody on the planet knows. If you don't know that, well, there's serious lack of education you have. But, so we know, here, new moon phase, she's expanding. She's releasing the blood. It's getting replenished. It's replenishing our Mother Earth. It's returning to our Mother Earth. When she's in full moon, this is when the deoxygenated blood leaves the body of our Mother Earth and returns to our grandmother moon. So this is as the heart. This is as the function of the heart within the human body. Come stand right here. Just hold this right here. Your heart, every time that it pumps out, it makes a noise. Every time that it pumps in, it makes a noise. And you know that your heart makes that noise. What the heart does is it expands and it contracts. That's all it does. But it keeps your entire body alive. It provides the blood that your body needs. So you can say, like, as far as sophisticated organs go, the heart may not be the most sophisticated. You might find other organs in your body that are more, say, complicated, not sophisticated, but more complex functions. Whereas the heart only goes like this: expands, contracts, expands, contracts. Boom, 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 boom. Expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction. So that's all the heart does. Other organs, like we said, in your body, they perform some pretty complex functions. You know, like your stomach. You know, you think of the acids that you have in your stomach and how it divides your functions within the different organs in our body. But again, the heart, just a simple thing: expand and contract. But without it, the most complex functioning organ in your body would not function. When we look at the body of our Mother Earth, there are some very complex organs within the body of our Mother Earth, the same way as within our bodies. But if not for the heart, the body would cease to function. So, it's important for us to know that in the full moon, that's when our grandmother moon is receiving, is replenishing it. It has been cleansed because in the rotation around our Mother Earth, the blood, the waters have traveled through her body for purification. And so when she's back over here in the new moon, and she's expanding, and she's sweating, and the waters leave her body, the new moon phase is where she replenishes. She brings the reoxygenated blood back to our Mother Earth. So this is a quite simple function of our grandmother moon. It sounds very simple. And the knowledge of our grandmother moon is very simple. But yet there is nobody left on the planet who has this knowledge. And I can say this with complete confidence, that there is no one left on the planet who has this knowledge. Because there is a fact that the academia of this entire world teaches your children that our grandmother moon is a cold, lifeless, dead place. That there is no life on the moon. And so, if there's no life on the moon, it is very easy for you to exploit. Because it's not alive. Now, science tells you exactly that. If you watch, let's say, I believe it's the History Channel. On the History Channel, they have a documentary about our grandmother moon. And the first thing that they identify about our grandmother moon is that it is a cold, lifeless place. That there's no life there. Now, scientists know that the moon expands and it contracts. Now, just knowing that our grandmother moon expands and contracts, it tells you that there is some type of action taking place on our grandmother moon. But when you take what science now knows since 2008, we have known this since the beginning of time, that our grandmother moon's the beating heart of our Mother Earth, which means you will find water. The same way that you will find blood in your heart. There's blood in your body, blood travels through your heart, you are going to find blood in your heart. And so, the same thing, you will find water on our grandmother moon. Now, scientists know since 2008, this is NASA's own science. NASA confirmed since 2008 that not only have they found water on our grandmother moon, but they also identify chemical activity, molecular activity. Now, to you, to anybody on this planet, if you hear of chemical molecular activity, water being on that planet, and then that planet expanding and contracting, then you know that there is something more happening on that body than what science is telling you. Science has lied to you. Science will not tell you about this reality, about our grandmother moon expanding and contracting. And it is only within the last 9 years that science is telling you that there's water on the moon, when we have been identifying this since the beginning of time. Now, it's also since 2008, again, that science identifies molecular chemical activity on the moon. Now, you don't have to believe me. I could be lying through my teeth at you. But this is where you must prove me wrong. You must prove wrong what we are saying. So, one of the things that you must prove wrong is, does this contraction and expansion of our grandmother moon actually take place? Now, you will have to use science. I don't want to hear what you think. I don't care what you feel about this. I don't care what you have been educated in that would give you an immediate response. What you must do is take absolutely every bit of information that you can attain and prove this to be wrong. Prove it that she does not contract in in full moon phase. And prove that she does not expand in the new moon phase. And prove that in her expansion that she does not release that water back to our Mother Earth. It is very easy to have an emotional opinion on this, but you must use truth, science. So, a little recap here. From far face of the new moon to far face of the full moon, again, is approximately 800,000 kilometers. In space, if you got 800,000 kilometers closer to a heat source, it would be the difference between life and death. Because let us examine the change of seasons on our Mother Earth. Now, the change of seasons here on our Mother Earth is only due to the Earth's rotation around the Sun. And so that means where it puts either the southern or the northern hemisphere in relation to the Sun. So let's say right here where the Earth is, well, here right now, this would be winter time. If we were on the other side of the Sun, it'd be summertime. So, but what up here in the north being winter, then it's summer in the south. What do we think the difference is in as far as the distance in relation to the sun is? Well, here being further, knowing the rotation, the circumference of the sun, of the earth, that in order to make it summer and winter for us here, I don't know this exact amount, but I'm going to take a guesstimate that the difference in being further and closer, determining winter or summer for us, I say is only going to be approximately maybe 1,000 miles at the most. Meaning that in the summer, the part of in the winter, the part of the earth where we are at is at the most 1,000 miles further from the sun than where we would be in the summer. Now I say that's a very conservative guesstimate. Wait, not conservative, a very liberal estimate. Somebody, maybe a physicist, will come out with the exact number, and it might only be, I bet you, a couple of 100 miles. But regardless of what it is, you know that it is not a difference of 800,000 kilometers. So the idea here is to get us from really cold in the winter to really hot in the summer. Us being in, as far as being adjacent to the sun, it's minuscule. It's a minuscule distance. It's really insignificant. But it's enough for us to be super freezing in the winter, or to be super hot, to go swimming in the summer. So let's imagine the changes that our grandmother Moon goes through. Without an atmosphere to protect her. And you know what that means? That if you're on the moon, and say you're coming out of the shadow of the earth, the moment that the sunlight hits you, you're burning up. Because you can't take that, because you don't have an atmosphere. So think of this. The extreme conditions that our grandmother Moon goes through. She's a lot further than we are from the sun when we're super cold in the winter. And she's a lot closer to the sun when we're melting in the summertime. So she is going through extremes. Now, if you don't believe me, then that means you basically don't believe common sense science. Which means you go stand next to the fire. You're going to get hot. Your pores are going to expand. They're going to open, and you're going to sweat. How is it that we cannot extrapolate this truth from our little reality into the larger reality of the interaction between our Mother Earth, our grandmother Moon, and our eldest brother the son. Why can't we extrapolate the knowledge that we know is a fact here and affects our world, our lives? Why is it that we cannot understand it on the bigger level? It is because you have had your original instruction taken from you. And again, your original instruction is taken from you by male dominance. It has taken the power, the knowledge of our mothers. Because the reality of creation is Sky Woman, she who was given us spirit. Our grandmother Moon, she who has given us blood. And our Mother Earth, she who has given us body. And then from there, all the women from the newest born baby girl to the eldest grandmother, as they are all the mothers of our nations. It is the women who received the message of our Mother Earth from our grandmother Moon, from Sky Woman. And it is the women that are supposed to manage their sons in this world, teach their sons how to live within this reality. And it is the men that growing up in this reality become life protectors, to protect and defend the true role, the true title of our mothers as life giver. In this reality, the children are taught by their mothers. And the children who are taught by their mothers remember what our mothers have taught us. And now, there is no one left on the planet who has this knowledge any longer. Not that you can't have it, because it is, as it has always been, at your fingertips, right under your nose. Anyone on earth can have access to the truth. And when you have access to this truth, you may not understand the implications of this knowledge right now. But the implications of this knowledge into the rest of your life will turn your life upside down. Because your life has already been turned upside down by male dominance. So by returning the truth of matrilineal law, it will take you, who was flipped over like a turtle on its back, unable to move, just like this. It'll take you and it'll flip you back upright the way that you are supposed to be in this world. You will have your feet planted firmly on our Mother Earth. You will know your place, your position upon our Mother Earth. And this knowledge will change absolutely everything that you think you know about anything. Because, we'll say again, about the chaos in the world. What do you want to... We can take our pick of chaoses. We can look at either, like we said, the chaos of the plastics in the waters of the earth. Or we can talk about the wars that are everywhere on the earth. Or the ecological disaster that is being spread all around the earth. The air poison, the water's poison, the minds of your children poison. The reason all of this chaos is because Again, you have lost your original instruction. What we share with you today is only a brief part of the moon teachings. We could go deeper to identify something that I'm sure you never think about. Why is a gray object like our mother, like our grandmother moon? Why does she, upon having the light, the orangey yellow light of our eldest brother, the sun, shine upon her, why does she reflect white to us? Why does that happen? If you had a yellow light and you shine that yellow light on anything, it's going to have the color yellow. It's going to have a color, a yellow hue to it. Why does a gray object like our grandmother moon reflect white from that yellow light? Try the experiment yourself. Get a white sheet of paper, get a yellow light, and shine it on it. You're going to see what's going to happen. It's not going to shine white. It's going to shine yellow. The reason why our grandmother moon reflects white in the full moon, can anybody in this room guess the reason? The reason why is because what is reflecting the light is the water crystals upon our grandmother moon. That's what's reflecting white light. Not the gray color of the moon. The gray color is not going to reflect a white color from a yellow light. It's because of the water crystals on our grandmother moon. That's what reflects white. And we can go into other things about why is our grandmother moon reflecting white. And when she does that, where does she do it? She only reflects that color white, onto the dark side of the earth, the night time. That's the only place that the white light is reflected. Now, what is important about white light? This is where we go into another realm, where if you're a scientist, this is where I challenge you to prove wrong what we are about to say. There is a very important reason why our grandmother moon reflects white light. And you will find this out in the study of the color spectrum. If you look at the study of the color spectrum, you will identify that the different color spectrums have different reactions upon metallic objects. For instance, red light doesn't affect, if you got a piece of metal, this is anybody, you can do the research yourself on the internet and look at this study of the color spectrum. So they take red color light and they shine it at a piece of metal. Nothing happens. They take other colors within the spectrum. Nothing happens. The lighter you go, tiny things happen. But when you get to white, the color white, excuse me, sorry. Water break. When you get to the color white, and this is true for anything that is white. It is true for the white people also. Because white is the color that you reflect. So, in the study of the color spectrum, the color white, when shone upon a metallic object, that it releases, it agitates or aggravates the molecular structure of the metal, and it releases molecules. And you know what this happens anyways to metal. It's called, what do you call it? Deoxidization? Oxidization? The rusting process. You know, but anyways, when you shine white on something, particles of it leave. Now, what that identifies to you, as science confirms, that you know that within your body, that every day you have skin falling off of your body. But science identifies that the time of day when the most of your skin falls off is at night, when you're sleeping. So, at night, the color white upon our grandmother moon, reflecting upon our mother earth, this is where the same way that on our bodies the color white releases or agitates, that the same way upon the body of our grandmother moon, the body of our mother earth, upon the reflection of the white light, it activates in the nighttime side of the earth. It activates and it releases. Basically, it's like the dead skin falling off of your body. Our grandmother moon is an activator of this. Now, it is the color white that does this. And this is where, if you imagine were able to distort or to control that power of that color, if you could control the power of that color, you could either agitate or activate. And I will identify to you right now that the white people of the world have been the first to be colonized, to control their power, to turn it from an activator into an agitator. And this is where we are presently into the world, where the white race, the white people, have spread this colonization around the world. Because the white people have been colonized first, your power has been changed. It has been changed from something that could activate life to agitating life. Your route to understanding this is in our grandmother moon. You return to your moon ceremonies. Your mothers teach your sons once again about the real connection, the relationship between our grandmother moon, our mother earth, and our eldest brother the sun. And then our sons, your sons, will have their true identity. And those who are white will not be agitators. They will be activators. Activating others, because the reality is the power of the white light has been changed in this world to destroy. Not to give life any longer. It has been changed to destroy. And so, it is up to you to decide. What do you want to be? Do you want to be the activator? Or do you want to be the agitator? With everything that was identified already, There's enough evidence here to expose to you the answer to the question. Or, well, it wasn't really a question, it was what was stated to you earlier. That we would show you how the moon actually does have a rotation. Based on everything that everybody heard, knowing that the moon, our grandmother moon, is locked into a fixed, what's the word I'm thinking of here? Relationship. She's in a fixed pattern with the earth. She's locked in. She does not physically rotate. She only goes around. So now, based on that information, is there anybody that can see where the moon's rotation is? Where is her rotation? Can anybody answer that? Even anybody on the Zoom? Anybody in here present? If you think you have the answer, put your hand up right now so we can see. Okay, you think you got the answer? How? Okay. Mary Noel, she's present. She says inside, but she doesn't know how. It's the correct answer. It's inside, and I'll show you how. With the moon right here, in between the earth and the sun, there is one half of her that is super hot. And as she moves to the side, that heat, if you can imagine right here it being half of the moon, as she moves to the side, that heat stays relative to the face of the sun. So it is an inner heat rotation on the inside of our grandmother moon, where there is a physical rotation. Now that is what science cannot explain. This is the spirit. Because this, right here, the moon being directly between the sun and the earth, is where it all started. This is step one. This, from this phase of our grandmother being heated from our eldest brother, the sun, is what began her rotation. And as she began her rotation, with her locked in position to our Mother Earth, started our Mother Earth to turn, to rotate. And it's because of the inner rotation of our grandmother moon. The thing that science cannot see. So, again, you tell me, if this is not so, disprove this scientifically. That when the moon is closest to the sun, there is an internal heat that covers approximately half of her body. And again, as she rotates, that heat stays, the internal heat within her stays approximate to the body of the sun of the heat that's hitting her. So it's rotating inside of her. She has an inner rotation. I'll guarantee you that there is no scientist that has ever identified this. I guarantee you non-native science cannot comprehend this. But this is basic common sense. It's grade 3 level science. So there is an inner rotation. There is a rotation to our grandmother moon. It's just not, you just cannot see it with the naked eye. But it is there. Okay, so there is also, as you know, a duality to all things. Right here, upon our Mother Earth, there is a duality of the hemispheres. The southern and the northern hemisphere. The eastern and the western hemisphere. There is duality. There is duality also within our grandmother moon. And the duality is based on the reality of female and male. So, one of these moons, the new or the full, is female. And one is male. Know and understand that in creation, the female is the primary. She is first. Male is secondary. Male comes from the primary. It is the primary that has created the secondary. The secondary would not exist if not for the primary. Male would not exist if not for our mothers. So there is a reality in creation. There is an order. So if it came time for us all to be called into order, who would be the first one in line? Our mother. Her sons would not step in front of her in line. But you know for certain that our mother would put her sons in front of her. But her sons should never put themselves in front of her. Only if she puts us in front of her, then, and only then, will her sons be before her. But in the order of creation, the female is primary, male is secondary. So you have two moons here. Which one is primary? Anybody in this room? Anyone on Zoom? If you know, put your hand up. Elsa. Okay, she said something. Was there anybody on the Zoom? Was there anybody on the Zoom that could answer that? No one? I need an answer. Mary Claude, need it? Okay, nobody on Zoom? Okay, what Elsa said, she put her hand up. Which is the primary moon? Which is the female? The new moon. The new moon is the female moon. The full moon is the male moon. Because the primary, the female which gives life, think of this, in your body, you know that in order for you to live, that your heart has to pump out the blood. So, the first time that you were had life in you, what do you think your heart was doing? Was your heart pulling in the blood, or was it pumping out the blood? Anybody? Anybody in here? What'd you say? Your heart is pumping out the blood. Of course, the first thing isn't going to be to pull blood back in, because there's no blood there to pull in. The first thing is to pump out the blood. So you know that, like within our bodies, you know that your main artery, the blood comes out, travels through approximately 60,000 kilometers of blood vessels throughout your body. Takes a little bit under a minute and a half to travel through the whole thing and to come back in to be replenished, pumped back through the system. So you know that the initial thing is to pump it out, pump out the blood. The second thing is to pull it back in, and then just to repeat over and over and over and over, to give us all the beautiful experiences that we have, or else to give us all the chaos that we have. It depends, of course, on what we want. Do we want peace, or do we want chaos? I will say to you that the knowledge that you had prior to today, the only thing that you could do with your knowledge is end up in chaos. But I will tell you now that with this knowledge that you have, this understanding of the function of our grandmother Moon in relation to our Mother Earth and our eldest brother the Sun, that this function shows us something different than what you have been taught. It shows you something different than what humans have had, non-native humans have had access to for the last couple of thousand years. You have not had access to one bit of truth. And I will guarantee you that for the past 500 years, you have not known anything of truth. The only thing that the non-native society knows in the last 500 years is the corruption of male dominance. You know nothing of the reality of what every person and every country on earth, all the false beliefs that you want. But all those false beliefs are not going to show you anything of the truth, of the functions of the bigger body that we are a part of, and therefore be able to extrapolate your place, your position within this body. So here we are. Like we said, you can pick your chaos right now. Any chaos you want. The root of the chaos is your male dominance and what it has done to your mothers. Show me a mother that is happy, and I'll show you a mother that is disconnected from reality. Because if you think you can be happy while children are getting bombs dropped on them around the world, having their heads and arms blown off of them, if you think you can be happy, then you are probably a so-called American or Canadian. But you have nothing, no connection to reality. There is only one way that peace is going to be established on our Mother Earth. And that is to return our mothers to power, to their natural seat of authority within all our people, so they can manage our peoples properly once again. This is your only hope. And you don't have much time. The short track to making this happen is for you Quite simply, to embrace the truth of our grandmother moon. Because if you look at any issue that you are concerned with today, you're concerned about that river, you're concerned about that forest, about the air, about the water, no matter what your issue is, I'll guarantee you it's a waste of time. Because what good is it going to do for you to save that forest? Well, the concerted effort of every nation on earth is right now assaulting our grandmother moon. So talk about the broken finger you got. Talk about the scraped elbow that you have, or the rash you have on your leg, or the sore kidney that you got. And spend all your time trying to fix those little things. While at the very instance you are having a doctor look at your broken finger, you have every person on earth, through every country on earth, through the United Nations, the IMF, the World Bank, the open market, every person on earth, their energy is going to attacking and destroying our grandmother moon right now. So fix your broken finger. While all those entities are sticking a knife in your heart. What good is it going to do for you to fix your broken finger? This is the trick of male dominance. To get especially you women to waste your time, to bark up the wrong tree. I'm going to say something harsh. I'm going to say a phrase right now that you are not going to like. You might be offended by it. What male dominance has done to you is it left you in a situation of basically having your heads up your ass. And there is nothing you can do right. You can spend your time addressing all these issues of corruption that you have caused in the world. And you will never address anything. You must address the one thing. You know what's killing people in Syria? What's killing people around the world through the wars that are everywhere? Through all the ecological destruction, social destruction, economic. There is one source to all those things. And that is where the non-native world went wrong in male dominance. Do you think you can fix a 2,000, 3,000 year old problem? You do not have the ability. You do not have the knowledge. You must return to your original instruction. You don't have it. The great law of peace is the original instruction. Think of these words. Great law of peace. This is our mother's words. This is our mother's path. We were brought into this world by our mothers. They carried us. They bore us into this world. They gave us our first sustenance. They gave us our first direction, which is the love that they offered to us instantly. And from the second that you have begun to grow and to walk in this world, you have walked away from your mother and you have broken her heart. You have split her sky. And we are now at the stage where we are at. That this, what we're doing right now, is, well, something that just, I don't know, happened for some reason. You are very wrong. There are no more of my people who have this knowledge. I state that openly and publicly. Because I know my people. They have all been compromised. They are all subjected themselves to the male-dominant poison that has come here from across the great waters. And so, the reason why we share this with you today is out of an act of desperation. But it is not our act of desperation. It is yours. We are responding to your call. You just don't know it. You have not realized yet. Very soon, you will come to realize. And if you wait for that time, I'll guarantee you it will be too late for you. You have been here for 500 years. Whether or not you are here in Turtle Island, whether or not if you are still in France or Europe or anywhere else, you know absolutely nothing about me. Nothing. But I have been studying you for 500 years. And I know absolutely everything there is to know about you. We know more about your science than you know. We know more about what you are doing than what you know. We know more about what your energy is going to than what you do. Think of this. You, everyone from around the world, you have all taken a collective action for the past 500 years. Without knowing what you are doing? How could that be? There is something seriously wrong. How could it be that an uneducated person such as myself can know everything about you? And educated people such as yourselves know absolutely nothing about me. But with all your education, your collective knowledge of 7.5 billion people identifies that our grandmother Moon is a cold, lifeless rock. This shows you how much your science knows. This identifies what we have always said, is that you do not have science. It's not. Because by definition, science, technology, would be something that starts from a foundation and is conducive to that foundation. It builds on it. Where science, your technology, does not. You think you have technology. It is not technology. You have reverse technology. This is all that you have. How could you identify that as the end result of a technological process? That is not technology. Again, it is reverse technology. The proof of this, the existence of atoms. Now, as you know, atoms have only been verified by modern science since I think it was around the 1930s, late 1920s. And this is something that we've always known of. We call it something different. We call it the turtle, wolf, and bear. You call it the protons, neutrons, and electrons. That mean nothing. You can kill protons, neutrons, and electrons. Like nuclear power. The beautiful family of which we are all built up of. Protons, neutrons, and electrons. Bound together. What makes us up? Your technology has torn that family apart. Rips the electrons from the protons and the neutrons. Tears them apart. Propels them at each other. Smashing them together. Annihilating them. And you call that energy. You call it nuclear power. It is called nuclear destruction. Because your science that created that, in discovering the atom, the way that it discovered or confirmed the atom was to split that atom in half. Now think of this. There's a bunny rabbit hopping around in my backyard. And we're having an argument about it. And you're saying, no, that ain't a bunny rabbit. And I say, yes, that is a bunny rabbit. I know. Because it is my sister, my brother. And I must relate to them. How you affirm or confirm that it's a bunny rabbit is you take that bunny rabbit and you split it in half. And then you are certain it is a bunny rabbit. Because now you can see. You can see the little bunny rabbit lungs, bunny rabbit heart, bunny rabbit guts. But now it is a dead bunny rabbit. That is your technology. That's what you call technology. Again, you only have deconstructive technology. Which means you do not have technology. You do not have science. It is time for you to assess with truth. And there is no truth in your world. This is the reason why we share with you today the moon teachings, because this truth can be extrapolated into the rest of your life. And then from that truth, you can identify what is legal and what is illegal. Because the reality of the world is something that you cannot know any longer. When your mothers were killed in God's name by God's representatives, male dominance killed the knowledge in you. And you no longer shared that with your children, with your sons. And so, there is no one left on the planet who can teach the moon teachings any longer. With this truth expanded into the rest of your life, you will be able to identify the truth of what your mothers once knew. Is that this world can be divided into two. Everything. And what that two is in our world it is referred to as the Kanienkehaka and the Kanienkehaka, the good mind and the bad mind. So from now on, you think, is this technology within the good mind or the bad mind? You think, is what I am doing within the good mind or the bad mind? You think what I am accepting, is it within the good mind or is it within the bad mind? What I am a part of, is it within the good mind or the bad mind? I don't accept your behavior. I do not accept the non-native's behavior in this world. I do not accept your behavior here in my land. And this is the reason why I share with you the final truth that we have to share. Because what you are going to come to realize very soon is that we are in the final moments now. Not in the final moments of this game of life, but in the final moments, in the result of the destruction that you have caused in this world. We will point it out to you. We will not pussyfoot around. We will tell you the truth to your face. You are guilty. You must change it. Basically, it is the women of this world that must change it. Because you have allowed your sons to be corrupted. Where you do not even have the power any longer to direct your sons. How does that make you feel as mothers in this world? That somebody else is controlling your sons into war. When your heart screams for peace, cries for it, but your sons march off to war to make sure that you will never attain peace. So we call upon all the mothers. Return to your original instruction. You are not going to find it in the non-native world. You are not going to find it in the false man-made religions. Don't forget, it is those insane people that killed your mothers For doing what? They called you witches, but that is the corrupt male mind. He was afraid of you, as he still is afraid of you. Because if you put your foot down, he will be subjected to it. Leave you with this final message. We call upon our mothers to return to power. It is time for you to lead your sons away from all the false man-made creations. Lead your sons away from the false man-made education system. From the false man-made religions. From the false man-made political systems. Women, right now, do you fear? Do you fear for your sons? Do you fear for our Mother Earth? Do you fear for yourselves? Have you been living in that fear all your life? For multi-generations. This is not the path of our mothers. You women must stand up. And you know what you must do? You must boycott all that is male dominant. You must not seek out equality. Because for you to demand equality, you would have to climb down the evolutionary ladder to be equal with men. And that would be just as insane as the men. You must stand within your identity as life giver. And teach your sons how to be life protectors once again. Teach them the great law of peace. Teach them of our grandmother Moon. Return to your moon ceremonies. Teach your sons about them. Because within your moon ceremonies you will find your natural cycles. You will break out of that stupidity of religion. Break out of the Gregorian calendar and find that there is not 12, but there is 13. And that this is the beauty of our mother. In the past, within all our nations, you would not find anybody who would share with you. Because you could not be trusted with such information. There is only one reason why we share this information now. We are in the end moments of the game now. So it depends on our mothers what you are going to do in the next 6 months. This must be the concerted effort of everybody on earth to push the United Nations to declare our grandmother Moon to be a World Heritage Site. This must be your effort, not my effort. You come to my house and break my windows. This is for you to fix them. So get to work. You ain't got much time. And if you do start working, you know that there will always be a place for you by our council fire. It was open since the day you stepped foot on Turtle Island. If you want that door to close, all you got to do is nothing, because it's closing on you. But if you want that door to remain open, you have to take action now, not tomorrow. The next 6 months is going to determine the amount of pain and suffering your children are going to have to endure. I give my thanks to Juranyate that he has carried us to this point, and that we know that he is going to carry us all the way. I give my thanks to Gahawinuji that this is the path that she has put me on, that this is the life that she created me for, that she brought me into this world to rid this world of male dominance, and we together are going to do it. You do not look at what you cannot do. You look at what must be done, and you set out to do it. This is the path and the challenge for true men and true women in this world. Are you going to do what must be done? This will determine as to if we are going to see each other into this summer and into the future. There is only one way that we are going to see each other from here. And I'll say something harsh again. And that's only if you get off your ass and take action to correct all the things that have been done wrong, not only in the past 500 years, but in this whole experience of male dominance within the non-native world. Your corruption must be corrected. Nakadiwai ka joke was one of the serious nyari. Ayok hiat again ha. Yeti sota gun ha ner on the headstone gani guri or the hawakwe. Dam daw ya on headsena gazat stasad on the ganungwe. To bring back the true power of our mothers in this world. Not the power that you want, but the true power of our mothers. The way that she is supposed to be. Not the way that the people have corrupted her. That flower must grow free once again. And that is our responsibility to make sure that that flower grows free. This is our mother. What are we going to do about our mother? Are you going to take action? Are you going to stand up? Are you going to stand by our side? If you don't, I don't care to hear about you. Because what's going to happen in your world is you already know and see as it has already begun. All of the corruption has come to a head. This is the reason why we are here in these circumstances right now. We would never be here in these situations before in the past. Because like we said, with this knowledge, the people that we have talked to in your societies in the past, now we speak to you women. Rise up, mothers. Rise up. This is the time. If you do not, you're going to watch your sons suffer. We will continue on this path to protect and defend. This is what my mother brought me into this world for. And this is what we are going to do. These are my mother's words. I push her to the top. Nyawagoa. From here, on the 29th, you may not know what to respond to. We are not giving you a specific question. There are some things throughout the teachings that you know that you have to confirm or denounce. And if you can't remember all of these things, the recording of the session is going to be placed on the internet, and anybody can look at it from now until the 29th. And then on the 29th, you are going to respond, one way or the other. Your silence, if it is silence, will be your response, and we will acknowledge it. As any of your verbal responses will also be acknowledged. You may think it means really nothing. Who are we? We're not judge and jury. We're not the ones that are going to judge you for your actions. Or are we? That's going to be for you to determine. Because one way or the other, somebody is getting ready to judge you. So, we give thanks to all our ancestors who carried a good mind. And we ask them to guide us through this process. You are going to face some demons. They're going to be inside of you. You're going to be torn. You're not going to know how to respond. You're going to feel an allegiance to the corruption you have been linked to. And at the same time, you are going to be torn from it. The beauty of my mother's teachings is that it's left up to you to determine what the truth is. So again, these are my mother's words. I push her to the top. Doga tena na hodo yatakso. We have nothing to do with bad. Here to solve it. Here to solve it. Here to solve it. And we push it away on the 3 levels of creation. We have nothing to do with your corruption. There is a place amongst the people when you can find your identity and trace your roots back to the tree of peace. You may sit with the people. But until then, the people cannot trust. So we hope that we can work together. As far as I know, I have not spoken any untruths. If there is anything that was untrue, then we ask for it to be pointed out to us. If there is anything that hurt anyone, if it was wrong what was said, then we are sorry. But if anyone was hurt, and what was said was true, And we are not sorry. Have an open mind. And let's see where this journey takes us. Because literally right now, this is a unique time on the planet in all the history. You could say there was only one other time like this. When Sky Woman herself breathed life into all things. And this is the time where only our mothers, only the women, can put us back on track. There is not a man on this planet that can fix the corruption. It is only our mothers that can fix it. So I don't care if you are not Kanienkehaka. I don't care if you are white, black, yellow, brown, purple. The mothers of all our nations must rise. They must find their place and assert their power. And your sons must obey. When our mothers rise, your sons will follow. To all the mothers, we give our word that your sons will carry through to protect and defend you, even if you cannot see the truth of it. So to all the mothers, we give thanks and we call them back, the true mothers in all our nations, to return. Push away all that is corrupt. Disassociate yourself. Muchas gracias, mercy, dankeschön, danke, everything else. Thank you very much, Nyawagoa. To our mothers. So when you're talking on a level of our grandmother Moon with such truths, it resonates into the heart of the individual. That you know that everything else is just bullshit. It's just a lie. So from there, especially because the way that a man's mind works, he's not going to understand love. He's not. You got to show him something about the truth of how love is truly physically manifests into the world. So that's the way you get to your sons' minds with showing them truth. Don't just tell them, say, do this or do that. The Moon teachings, well, as you know, we've been doing it now for, I don't know, about 6-7 years, something like that. Anyways, we've been taking it into schools, universities, gatherings, you know, different workshops, stuff like that. And now, this year, well, in previous years we had 800 students that would come down every summer, come down to our place here, to the grounds, and we would share with them, teach them stuff about the Great Law of Peace, and they would plant in our garden. It was a little bit different a couple of years ago, but now this year, Edith's spearheading the project where it's not somebody else now coming to us pushing the project. Now it's us handling the project, so it's us pushing it out. So now the Moon teachings are going to happen more in with schools coming here, not just school children, but also combination of school children and adults, their parents. So it's going to be like a family interactive thing. You can't have children basically being smarter than the parents, you know, they got to learn together. So we're gonna take that approach. You can't have the kids come home and say they know all this about the moon, and then the parents are maybe actually working in the technological field, working against what the children know. You know, so we can't have that type of atmosphere. We have to have a correction that includes not just teaching the young kids, it needs to be teaching their parents at the same time. So that's the new agenda, well, not the new agenda, but the new thing that we're working on. What we're going to start to do is address specific things. Like, it's perfect, the radio, the TV show, to address these things. Truth and reconciliation. We're going to address here the missing and murdered Native women. But we're not going to call it missing and murdered Native women. We're going to call it missing and murdered women. Because it's not missing and murdered Native women. It's missing and murdered women, period. In all walks of life, all societies. If we focus here, if I focus because I'm a Native on missing and murdered Native women, then I am just as corrupt as everybody else. Because then I am just dealing with my special interests. This is not about my people. It's not about what's happening to my people. If the tables were turned, it would be somebody else that would be here. So it's not about that. It's not about my people. It's about the larger truth that's happening, and the truth is that my people have become the biggest perpetrators of the corruption, more so than the non-native society. My people are the corruption now. And this is the thing that we have to address and deal with. So this is going to be one of the things that will be addressed by addressing missing and murdered women. You know who they are? They're French women, aren't they? In Mexico, who's talking on their behalf? The Mexican president? And he's addressing what? The narcos? That's not addressing any goddamn truth at all. That's part of they are the problem. They're never going to address the true problem as to why all these women are being murdered in Mexico. You know, it's kind of different over here, eh? Oh, they're disappearing. Over there you hear of how bad and the stuff that actually happens to them. Buried into the ground, up to their heads, left there to die. Murdered, found mutilated in the desert. Who's talking on behalf of women? The women are not talking on behalf of women. Women cannot talk about yourself. It's supposed to be the men talking about what's being done to you. Because when the men talk about that, then we're addressing it. And you know what? If it's me, I'm not guilty. My people are not guilty of any of these things. It is every other race of people that has come here to Turtle Island. Whether or not they view themselves as being complacent, the fact is that all the people that have come here follow in the footsteps of those rapists that came here before them. So you cannot all of a sudden come into a process 500 years later and say, oh, I'm not guilty, it wasn't me. Because if you're following the same footsteps, you know what? You're guilty. So we address this. It's the men that must address what has happened, what has been done to you. The same way that here within my people, I gotta address what has been done to the women within my nation. You know who addresses what happens to me? Nobody. Nobody. It's not that way. It's not supposed to be that way. The sons are to protect and defend our mothers. We're supposed to make sure that our mother's legacy continues right now in a collective mind sweep. Can you recognize it? Do you know how? And so if you can see how it is done, then you can, like a surfer riding a wave, you got to know how to stay right on top of that wave. You can't be too advanced, because then You're going to fall over and it's going to crush you. You can't be too eased off, because then it's going to just pass you and you're going to be left there. You have to know how to stay on top of this. So if you know what the truth is, that right now we're in a collective mind suite, then you'll know how to keep the memory of what was before, because right now there is something being stolen from you. You got no clue what it is.
No liberty.
Think of this. The knowledge of, let's go back to the 1900s. The technology that existed back then would say blacksmiths and all that kind of stuff, whatever the technology was. Do any of you remember that? No.
Jesus, one watching